Hi, I'm Jazz Tangcay, Senior Artisans Editor at Variety, and I'm here today with singer and songwriter Keith Urban, who wrote Crimson Blue for the Hulu series Nine Perfect Strangers. Hello, Keith.
Hi, Jazz.
Well, first of all, congratulations on Crimson Blue. It's a gorgeous song. How did it all come together for you?
It started with the producers of the film asking if we would write some original music for the series, and I think it was initially to find something that might be used in certain scenes, and then maybe some incidental music at certain key points as well. So I got with three songwriter buddies of mine, Sam Sumser, Sean Small, and a guy named Breland, who's a really great young new artist. We'd already written a few songs for my record, and I really clicked with them. So uh, the unusual part of this journey was that I was going to be in Australia because that's where they were filming Nine Perfect Strangers, and I asked these writers if they would come down with me. Of course, it was during 2021 when there was still this quarantine period in Australia, and getting them into Australia was difficult enough. The film was able to get them in to write songs for the film, but we had to quarantine for 2 weeks. So it was in that 2 week quarantine period that we wrote all these songs, and one of which turned out to be Crimson Blue.
Oh my gosh, that is such an amazing story. Writing in the pandemic, or in quarantine. Uh, Talk about writing for TV though, because when you're writing a song for an album, it's completely different to, you're writing about themes and characters. Like, what was the difference or the creative process?
Well, I've never written specifically for a project before that wasn't me or another artist. So writing for a film was brand new to me, and actually the other three writers as well. Um, and it was pretty much a broad stroke directive. I'd read quite a bit of the script with Nick. We hadn't been on the set at that point because we were still in quarantine. So we got a call from the director, um, basically saying, "Can you guys write something in a sort of Pink Floyd trippy vein?" Um, and I was like, any more instructions?" And he's like, "No, just sort of ethereal, otherworldly, Pink Floyd-esque, something like that." Um, and that was about the only direction I got. And I picked up my guitar, and uh, the first chords that came to mind was this sequence. And it had a really ethereal vibe to it. And the first words were, "I never saw the sky crimson blue. Da, 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 da." I had nothing else. And Breland said to me, "What did you just sing?" I said, "I never saw the sky crimson blue." He goes, "What is that?" And I go, "I have no idea." It's literally what just came out with the chords and the melody. So we wrote that down, and off we went with this song that really became um, about, I think, that sort of, how would I call it, the ether, kind of the in between world of dreaming and being awake, and maybe this other dimension that we live in that we don't know about. I was interested in all of that spiritualism, how religion comes into that, where we come from originally. So there was a sort of a celestial feeling about it already. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I love that. And you're talking about the celestial feeling of that. How did the lyrics or like the melody kind of connect with the theme of Nine Perfect Strangers, given that you don't know what's going to happen, in episode, in the finale or like halfway through, you don't know the full journey at this point, right?
Not at all, no. And
Yeah.
it wasn't said to us, "We need an end credit song." It wasn't presented that way. It was just, "Can you write different song?" We wrote another song called Perfect, which actually didn't end up making it into the project. But that was another call from the director saying, you know, this film is about nothing is perfect. Everything may look like it is on the surface, but nothing is really perfect. So we went, well, let's write that song, and we wrote Perfect. And then Crimson Blue was this other strange directive that in the end I just wrote. I realized what I ended up writing about for me specifically was probably my bit of my, maybe I don't know how to define. It's not really a religion or an ethos or a philosophy or any of that. It's just a feeling I have personally, maybe about us coming from. There's a line in the song that says, "We're returning to the stars that we're made of," and in the end, we'll see we never were alone. Those things I think were really more about my own personal feeling of tapping into something beyond what we can see. And so the song really was just truth for me. It was very truthful for me. It almost went beyond the project we were working for, and I just wrote from my own feeling and truths, my own internal truths as of now. And the song got written, and it was amazing to see that it made its way all the way into the project and to the end credit song.
Yeah. You talk about working with Breland, who you've worked with before. I mean, talk about your collaborative process on this. Like you said, you know, you'd cracked one line or, you know, two lines and you had the melody, but then, you know, how does that evolve, and how did working together in, I guess, in quarantine, like, how was that? What was that process like?
It was like,
Did that make it easier, I guess?
It was like summer camp for 2 weeks. It was great. It was great. I mean, there was 4 of us living together 24 hours a day for 2 weeks, couldn't go anywhere. Nobody could come in. We couldn't go. So it legit straight up quarantine. We could have food brought in, but we couldn't go anywhere. And so we set up a little makeshift studio with very, very small, a couple of laptops and a couple of guitars and microphones, and set about writing this song. We didn't think that we were making the recording of this song. We just thought we were writing this song, but the large majority of the end result recording wise was also done in that little quarantine space. So it was, I think what was beneficial about it was that there was no interruptions. We had just real sort of focus and time to just let this song come into being, because we didn't really know what we were writing, but we just sort of, I felt like we got on a nice flow, a stream of conscious flow that we didn't have to question. A good example is the opening lines, "I never saw the sky crimson blue." I loved the way it sounded, and I loved the imagery it conjured up and the feeling it gave me. I didn't know what to say after that. And Breland said, "What are those things that you look through that you turn and they do and we're like, "A kaleidoscope." And he went, "Oh, kaleidoscope my eyes, shapes and hues." And I went, well, yes, that would be the second line. And that's a good example of that collaborative synergy that Breland and I have melodically, lyrically, to fill in the next bit of space with an idea. It's really beautiful writing with him.
Yeah. Well, even more beautiful is the second verse, where it gets like deep, because I think it goes, you know, it says, am I the reason why I'm afraid, or the pain inside I can't face? You know, I try to run to you, but you're not here. Like, talk about that second verse, because that's when you go from never seeing the sky to really getting into the feeling, and it's so in sync with all, you know, with the characters, but then also separately, like as a standalone song. It's so beautiful.
Yeah, thank you. It's a really emotional song. It was one of the more emotional songs I've ever written, because it really felt like it was coming from somewhere else. But it felt like a succinct truth for me. I know that, having gone through my own struggles with addiction and having gone to rehab more than once over the years, but now being sober 16 years, coming up on 16, a lot of that is within this song as well, because it's this sort of spiritual searching, the want for something, to feel connected to something greater than myself. Um, and so much of my own discovery was that enormous amounts of pain that I was going through was a lot of my own fear, and most of it unwarranted. So the line, am I the reason why I'm afraid, versus other things? Because if it's me, I can turn that around. Um, so am I the reason why I'm afraid? All of the pain inside I can't face. Um, I have this feeling like no matter what people believe in, what I believe in is something I can't define. You know, there's words for it, but everybody has their own words for it if they believe in something greater than themselves. But my own feeling was I was going through something I couldn't handle. So all of the pain inside I can't face was literally me saying, I can't handle this, and the universe going, finally, finally. So do you need help, Keith? Yes, I need help. All of that is in this song. All of the pain inside I can't face. I try to run to you, but you're not here. For me, are people like my father, who passed away 6 years ago. I can't run to him because he's not here anymore. Why did the things we love disappear? There's something beyond that that I'm still connected to and a part of and can seek help from. That's really what this song ended up being about, was this power greater than me. Call it what you will, what you want. But the end of the chorus is, of course, in the end, we'll see we never were alone.
And then you have the outro, like we all, you know, we all find our own way, that ties that all together. Like, talk about that line and that how you wrapped the song, how that came together.
Yeah, I guess it's all, again, my own spiritual beliefs, that I think everybody is finding their own way, at their own pace, their own part of the journey. Everybody's on their own part of the journey. So the harder part of the song was the opening line of the chorus. We had the melody. We're returning to the stars that we're made of. What do we say there? And we loved the melody. It just sounded very spiritually awakening. It had a spiritual awakening and a sense of the sun coming up and hope, and sort of like that Lion King moment, you know. It just had this awakening and beautiful, big, joyous hope. And we couldn't think of any words. It was driving us nuts. And we sort of kept saying these shapes and sounds that weren't real words. And Breland came down the next morning and he says, what about Oh Ya Abadoye? And I went, Oh Ya Abadoye. It's perfect. What is that? And he goes, well, that's whatever you want it to interpret to be. Everyone will have their own meaning for what that feeling is. But then it's followed by lyrics, Oh Ya Abadoye, we're returning to the stars that we're made of. And then it's almost like the next line is the English translation, we all find our own way. And I loved the idea that there would be this other language that's saying we all find our own way. And then it's translated to we all find our own way. In the end, we'll see we never were alone. It really just summed up my sense of hope in the darkest of times, really.
Yeah. Were you surprised at how well this fit, almost like a glove, into the, you know, into the conclusion of the series?
Oh my gosh, yeah, yeah, yeah. When I saw where it started, and all the lyrics took on this whole other meaning. Of course, you know, I think anybody who's written a song that gets used in a film, and suddenly those lyrics can take on this whole other dimension. I was really moved. We all were. We were all very, very moved. I was moved that they loved the song and wanted to use it, but I was just speechless when I saw where they placed it.
Yeah. You talked about Nicole working with you. She's also an EP on the series. So talk about working with her and like if she had any input into like this song needs to be like the perfect fit or
No, no,
she stayed.
she she goes, she says, do what you do. I don't know anything about acting, and Nick doesn't really weigh in on the musical creativity side of things. Um, she seemed to really, well, she genuinely loved the song when we wrote it and presented it. And again, of course, the recording of it was all done there in quarantine, other than we had some drums overdubbed later on in Los Angeles and some bass guitar added in Nashville and some acoustic guitars, and everything else was all done in quarantine. The bigger challenge was we wanted this massive group singing the chorus, like this huge big choir, and of course we're in quarantine, so there's there's no choir. It's just me and Breland, and so we multi-tracked ourselves over and over and over again. I'm not sure how many of it, there's 30 or 40 times, so there's 60, 70 or 80 of us or something in this huge big vocal choir, just stacking our vocals over and over, singing different parts and emulating the choir.
We're never going to listen to that song the same way now, knowing that that's you and Breland like overlaid
Hmm.
60 times.
Yeah.
Um, talk about the learning process though, because you know, as we said, writing for TV is so different, but maybe it's not. Like, what have you learned from, or like, yeah, what have you come to appreciate about writing for a series?
I still feel the way in which we wrote this song was um, just magical in how it came about, how it came together. The fact that it was just meant to be. That's all. I feel grateful that my first experience was a fluid one with writing. I also wrote lots and lots of incidental music, which I thought was going to be used, but nothing got used. So there's the crash reality as well. Huge amounts of work that we did across those 2 weeks, none of it got used. One song out of everything we wrote over those 2 weeks got used. So that's one of those, you create, and 98% of it, maybe more, doesn't work, but that 1% that works is golden.
So will they find their way onto like maybe a future album of yours or maybe a single release?
Yeah, who knows? I mean, the song "Perfect" that Breland actually sings is just a beautiful song. I don't know where any of these things will end up. I mean, I'm amazed that Crimson Blue was used where it was and became such an important part of the end of the series. So maybe if they do any more Nine Perfect Strangers, we've already got some songs in the can.
I love that. Keith Urban, thank you so much for this
Oh,
conversation and thank you for the incredible music too that you've given us.
my pleasure. Thank you. So nice to talk to you.
Likewise, thanks very much.
You bet. Bye.